All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Natalie Elliott, and I am the creative of the Maritalpreneurs Weekend Intensive. And what we have to go along with that is the Maritalpreneurs Podcast. And this is where I get to bring in guests to talk about the struggles of being an entrepreneurial couple or a couple that has an entrepreneurial component and the rest of your life. All together. And so these two fabulous ladies, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, but they did a event that was called Boardroom to Bedroom. And so I was like, and I know that event was tailored for women, but I was like, that information, I have to have it for my couples because my couples are the boardroom is their kitchen table. And the
Mm,
bedroom is right down the hall. And at the beginning of the marriage, the bedroom might be next door. It might be in the same room if we ain't, started getting them ducks together yet. And so, how do you transition from the kitchen table to the bed, from the kitchen table to the couch? I wanted my couples to have this information because I know so many of them struggle. I've heard it. Well, he ain't talking to me in 2 weeks, so yeah, we ain't had sex. Or she mad at me because I didn't get that contract and we ain't have sex. Or we got in a fight over the business and we ain't even sleeping in the same bed, you know. And so things like that are happening all the time with my entrepreneurial couples. And so I wanted you ladies to bring in your expertise. So if there's just one thing we can do to help one couple make that transition easier, I want us to do it. So, okay, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and all of the accolades and everything. So, okay, who wants to go first?
I'll
All right,
go.
go, Nikquan.
Hey y'all. So I am Lewis. I'm a licensed relationship and sex therapist. I
Hmm.
am a keynote speaker, best-selling author of When Trauma is Your Author, The Price Your Relationships Pay and How to Reclaim Your Story. And I'm also a
Yes.
professional wellness consultant and the owner of Intimate Connections PLLC. And I see individuals and couples to help them to improve intimacy with
Hmm.
themselves first, then others.
Wow. Okay, we're going to have to come back and do a whole podcast on just the title of your book because trauma informs how people do business and how people do their relationships.
Absolutely. There's a whole chapter called When
Ooh,
Trauma Follows You to Work, because trauma doesn't check out when you do.
girl. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Which is why some of y'all coworkers acting crazy and then you responding crazy to them. But today we're talking about when work is in the house, when the work is at the kitchen table, when the work is between you and your partner. So, okay, I I want to dive into that, but I'm not. I'm not. All right. Hey, your fabulous partner here. Please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, hey, I am Kamilah Thomas. I'm a licensed clinical social worker
Hmm.
and I am the founder of KBT Counseling and Consulting, where I do my best work. Working with high achieving Black women tends to be those who identify as being the strong Black woman,
Hmm.
the superwoman, very hyper independent, and really help her be able to let go of the cape, the need for control, the need for perfectionism, to be able to identify the hidden signs of the ways that high functioning depression and anxiety shows up for her.
Ooh.
So that way she can live a more balanced life with leading and living with more authenticity.
Okay, y'all see why I had these have these ladies on here? Do y'all are y'all understanding and just in what they're explaining why I had to have them on here, why their information in their head is so valuable and it's gonna change your life? I'm so excited. All right, we're gonna start with a nice softball class question. Okay. What boundaries do y'all think successful couples need to put in place to protect their relationship? What do y'all think? Who wants to go
So
first?
I'll start. One thing that you said when we started, or maybe before, was how sometimes their boardroom is the kitchen, and then they have to go to the bedroom. When I work with, so my demographic is probably couples 30s to like 60s, and
Hmm.
high success, right? And so oftentimes what I am finding is that the boardroom, there's no
Hmm.
separation.
Hmm.
Boardroom and the bedroom are one and the same.
Yep.
And so having healthy boundaries, that we cut off entrepreneurial talk, business talk,
Hmm.
kids, any talk outside
Hmm.
of this here
Yeah.
dynamic. Have a healthy boundaries around not
Yes.
talk, bringing that to the bed,
Hmm.
right? Where this space is for pleasure. It's for
Yes.
it's for love. It's for rest, restoration. And so separating two is imperative. And a lot of couples haven't figured that out.
Okay. All right.
Also, just add to that, continue on with the boundaries. If they are working in the same home, have a designated space where they're doing work. So if that ideally is in a separate room, that's where the work happens. And then afterwards, we close that door, right? So there's literally like a physical boundary and also just the energy in that as well. I would definitely agree with Nikquan, no work talk, no bringing laptops into the bedroom. And then also having a hard stop time of when you all are doing work in general in the home, and also having conversations about that. So that could be at 8 p.m. all work, no matter what, is done, and we're not having any conversations with that. So that way you have intentional time to really focus on each other and get out of our heads and tap back into our bodies.
Oh, that's so good.
Right.
Like, yeah, I have literally seen couples' bedrooms, let me say bedrooms, where there's a TV playing. Each person has their laptop and their cell phone and their tablet. So we're talking like 7 devices, and you wondering why y'all don't emotionally connect anymore. Like, come on, work with me. And so there has
Connected
to
to the
be
devices.
right. And so, you know, and I don't want to, because I'm guilty of it as well. Of like, oh, I need my laptop. Oh, but I want to look this up on my tablet. Oh, and I got to have my cell phone because when somebody texts me, you know, of having that, but really being able for a couple to take a deep breath and say, okay, but we got to choose the relationship. Like at some point, we got to choose the relationship. We can't let the stuff creep into the bedroom and then take over the bedroom. And so, and many of y'all need to take that TV out the bedroom. Like
That part.
the research is there. Couples that don't have a TV in their bedroom have more sex because you ain't got too much to distract you. So okay, why do people struggle with this? Why do you think couples struggle with this so bad? Nikquan, I'll get back to you because you see couples. Why do they struggle so bad?
Well, when you say struggle, are we talking about struggle with the lack of sex? Are we talking about struggle with the lack of boundaries? Or
I'm saying
all?
struggle with the let's say it all, but start with boundaries. Why do people struggle making these boundaries and setting these boundaries and prioritizing the relationship?
It could be so many reasons. So going back to the book, When Trauma is Your Author, I talk about how trauma will write your story. And so until you gain the awareness and reclaim your story. So if you have any kind of financial trauma, right? If you have any financial trauma, growing up not having enough, go until you can't anymore. And there's so intention versus impact, right? My intention is to secure the bag, is to secure my emotional safety, physical safety, especially if I have children, right? But the impact is my partner may feel unconsidered. That's not my intention, but the impact matters. So a big reason around boundaries could be, it could be a result of unresolved trauma. It could be, of course, a lack of boundaries and not being raised, knowing what healthy, flexible boundaries are. It could be living above your means and not having enough. There are several reasons why couples struggle to not prioritize their relationships, understanding that that's not the intention. The intention is to security in a number of ways, but that is the impact, and they're missing that.
Okay, so if you were going to give them one tip today to help them move toward connection, what would it be?
It would definitely be to not give each other the crumbs of their day. Work with so many couples, and they are giving everything to everybody, not themselves oftentimes, but giving stuff to the kids, to the business, right, to the world, wearing all these hats, and then times for the night, or oftentimes the night, they have nothing left. But they also have nothing left for themselves. And so to create structure where you are implementing rest, you're implementing couple time, you're implementing time to just disconnect and to prioritize yourself. So schedule it, be intentional about it. That's the suggestion I would have.
All right. And Kamilah, for you, Why do individuals struggle with that? Because I know you probably told them that in therapy from time to time when you're sitting there with the individual. What's the struggle you see and why do they struggle with it?
Well, I think it depends. I would add to in regards to the couples. I think sometimes there's just an unintentional deprioritization of the relationship. Meaning we've been together, we know that we ain't going nowhere, right? But that business adventure is new, it's exciting, and so that's where more of that energy is gonna go into. Not that we don't care about it, but sometimes there can be a tendency where you start building a business and then you stop nurturing the relationship. So the energy shifts. Yeah. I would say for sometimes high achieving women or like that superwoman, the productivity really could be used to try to mask some insecurities, and she's using that as a way to validate and define her worth. Right. So I get the applause, I get the recognition, I get the attention. That's when people show up for me, is when I am doing, when I am achieving. So that's the way that, feed inner self. And so then to tell her to stop, to tell her to sit down, literally can feel like a threat to who she thinks she is as a person. Yeah. And so, tips are, that I talk about are, if all of this were to go away.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could lose your license, you could lose your job, financial difficulties happen. So at the end of it, who are you at your core?
Yeah.
Because what happens is that when we're so high achieving, we think that the achievement makes us who we are. And really it's the opposite. Who we are is why we're so successful, right? So when all the things go away, are you still just as funny? Are you still just as considerate? Right? How do those problem solving skills and your ability, to move, how does that still show up in other areas of your life? Right. Yeah. And so the accolades just become icing on the cake. Yeah. But it becomes more of that internal validation versus the external. And so that can then help her slow down a little bit. And also stop performing, because she's no longer doing it for other people. It's more authentic to who she actually is. And some of that exhaustion of always having to go can slowly start releasing itself.
Yeah. I want to talk about what I hear from my men when they're talking, and they'll say, and it's usually after or in the middle of a divorce or toward the middle of a divorce, but I bought her a Lexus. I kept her in a Lexus, but I made sure she never had to worry about this or pay for this or do this. And we all went on vacation and we always did this and we always did this. And then listening to them, I'm like, do you see that was all material things? And she wasn't asking you for a Lexus. She was asking you to show up for her birthday. She wasn't asking you to go on vacation. She was asking you to come home from work and like all of those things. But the driver was, I got to give you all this stuff so you'll stay and so you'll love me. Because the core insecurity is, you won't love me. I'm not lovable. So
but isn't the societal message also that men are supposed to be the providers? Right. So sometimes it's not necessarily that you're going to leave, but depending on what a man's version of what it means to him to be to be a man, to be a husband, to be a father can mean three totally different things based on their lifestyle, what they have, what they didn't have. Right. And so if I'm a man, I am supposed to be able to provide, and whatever that means, whether I'm in Section 8 or I'm in a mansion, like, I'm supposed to take care of what is mine. And so I think we talk a lot about the strong Black woman, but Black men, there's a lot of pressure on them as well, right? It is. When they are trying to do the right thing and be in healthy, intact families and homes. And so I think there's that added layer, particularly when you're also surrounding yourself with other high achievers. Right?
Definitely so.
Can fly together. And it doesn't mean that you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? But I think it's just a general level of influence that you have on top of just your own desires for the type of lifestyle that you want to have for you and your family.
I think so.
I like to add to that.
Go, Nikquan, because you're probably going to say what I was going to say, but go ahead.
So at the root of both of these, the high achieving and high performing woman, it was a little reaction. And the providing man oftentimes is the core wound of learning that love is transactional.
Oh, say
Right?
that.
Like as a
Yes.
woman doing all the achievements, I have learned that I receive praise, I receive support, I receive the accolades when I achieve something. Then I take that along the lifespan with me. Same thing for
Yep.
men who are
Yep.
given this message of providing. It's
Mm-hmm.
still on
Mm-hmm.
both ends
Mm-hmm.
transactional love,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't really lean into and support like vulnerability and loving when
Yes.
nothing, when you do nothing, when you're just you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work with a lot of people that have that core wound of transactional, just feeling that they have to do
Right.
in order to get
Yes.
love.
So when these two get married and they decide to do a business, or one of them's going to do a business, the potential for hurt and harm is so high.
Yes.
Entrepreneurial couples having a 75% divorce rate. All right. So if you guys were going to give them practical tools to help them in the relationship, what do you think you would tell them? What do you think?
I
I
would
would say
tell,
to
oh, go
remember
ahead,
that
Kamilah.
you married the person, not their resume.
Oh, say that. Oh,
Right, because sometimes we show up as behind our degrees and
mm-hmm.
certifications,
Mm-hmm.
and our best skill set in the relationship. And that
Mm-hmm.
person is like, "That's cool, but that's not why I liked you in the first place." Like when I saw you at
Mm-hmm.
HEB, when I saw you, at the
Mm-hmm.
park or wherever, I didn't see all of that. And
Right?
so I think remembering, I think for both parties, again, who you are outside of all of these things, and then also for the other person to remember to more humanize them versus looking at them just as as a business partner. They're a
Mm-hmm.
person first.
Yep. Oh, excellent. All right, Nikquan, what were you gonna say?
So practical tools, right? One,
Right?
absolutely all day long premarital therapy. If you did not have a chance to go to premarital therapy, because couples come to me already married
Mm-hmm.
and they've been in the game for however long, but there's so much relational trauma. There are tools that they can get. One of them is
Yes.
the relationship and sex conversation cards that
Yep.
help you to take it back to the beginning, take it back to the basics, and establish
Yes.
shared definitions. You can be
Mm-hmm.
on the same page. One of the
Right.
questions, how are your professional boundaries? And helping couples, entrepreneurial
Yeah.
couples, to create professional
Mm-hmm.
boundaries within their relationship. So if we're talking about practical tools,
Yep.
definitely therapy, premarital therapy, if at all possible, the relationship and sex conversation cards,
Yes.
shared definitions, understanding. I can tell you how many couples I work with and they have the same argument over and over, whether it's
Yeah.
about work, kids, or whatever, and it's because they're having different conversations,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about boundaries or just boundaries in general, and I'm talking about, how you handle your the team or your coworkers, but I might be talking about how talk to me about the business at night. We're not having the same conversation. And
Yeah.
so just being clarity gets in the way of so much miscommunication. So what did you hear me say? Right? What did
Yeah.
you hear me say? And what do you understand that to mean? Are also tools that they can utilize to just get on the same page and communicate effectively.
Okay. Okay. That seems so simple, and yet people don't know that and don't know that. So, what's another simple thing you think people need to know? Like just that simple. And it's funny because I think we've all sat in session and watched a couple have a completely different conversation with each other. Like, wait a minute, you talking about A, and they talking about the trip last year. Like, it's two completely different things. So, like, how do we heal that? What else can we do to support these couples so they can start making changes in their home? What do you think?
I think also depending on how new they are in the business to realize that things have changed. It's almost
Okay.
like expecting the dynamics to be the same
Yeah.
before you had a baby versus now when you have a six
Mm,
month old, right? So
right.
there's going to be a change, and also be able
Yeah.
to honor each other's differences. So I don't know about you all, but entrepreneurship is like a huge mirror that I didn't know that I would ever see. energy. And so I think as you're growing in relationships and you step into that, it requires a different part of you. It makes you see different things about yourself that you didn't see before. And I think those things can bleed over into the relationship. So what does it look like for us now as entrepreneurs? Because one may still have a corporate job, another one is an entrepreneur, right? So one has fixed hours, another one has more flexible hours. What does that look like for us? Right? If we need time off, the entrepreneur typically has full autonomy over their schedule versus, well, I want to, but it's busy season, right? And I can't do that, or the request got denied. So I think it's really sitting down, in what way has this business venture or just, our professions impacted our relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do we go back to what are the things that we used to enjoy that we're no longer doing? And how do we at least just start there? Like, we don't have to think about something new, create something new. Let's just go back to the basics.
Okay. Do you think that same conversation translates to our sex life, or does it need to be a different conversation?
I would say it definitely translates.
Okay.
Because when you are in different seasons, and we're talking about two entrepreneurial people, especially within the first, 7 years of a business, things are going to oftentimes be all over the place. Even though I have autonomy over my schedule, it's ghetto. It's real ghetto, right? And if anybody's an entrepreneur, you know that you done left that 8-hour 9 to 5 for 24 hours, right? It's until you get systems in place and things like that. I feel like that absolutely crosses over as a sex therapist into the bedroom. And so we're talking about actionable tools, check-ins. One of the cards in the deck is creating a healthy and exciting sex life. What does that look like? I can't tell you how many couples I work with, they never had this conversation. And so when I ask them that, they only focus on the number. The number is important, like how many times a week, right? Would I want to have sex? But if one person wants 7 and one person wants 1, and they stick on, well, my needs are not being met, but there's no compromise.
Yeah.
Right?
There's
nothing in the middle. And there's no conversation around pleasure. Right? Only orgasm. We only want to experience orgasm when that's only one type of pleasure. So not having these regular check-ins, whether it's business, whether it's intimacy as a whole, right? Understand, what does intimacy look like? How do you define it? And making sure you're hitting on all cylinders, not only sexual intimacy. Yeah. Right? But not having practices and systems in your business, if you don't have them in your relationship, all hell break loose.
All right. So what type of systems do you think are needed to help a couple transition well from the boardroom kitchen table to the bedroom?
Boundaries. Absolute clear and flexible boundaries.
Okay.
Check-ins, regular check-ins, whether that's bi-weekly. If you are in a season of where you're going through the storm, I would recommend. But if they're pretty much flowing, you can do bi-weekly, maybe even monthly. So check-ins, shared definitions, trust, respect, compassion. And when I say shared definitions, what are actionable steps of those things? Yeah. And getting on the same page.
Okay. All right.
If I can add, I would say it's important to understand how stress impacts the individual sexually and when it comes to intimacy. Because I have male clients where they're like, man, when I'm stressing and wore out, sex is a great stress reliever for me. However, when I'm working with my high achieving women, they're like, baby, I am wore out, right? Like I have given everything to job, the kids. The last thing I want is for someone to be all up on me, or they feel like it's another task. They're more obligated to do that. And so I think understanding is like, all right, baby, when you get really stressed, is sex something that is a reliever for you, or is that something that you were totally checked out, you don't have the energy for? Right.
Yeah.
So understanding that, I think the other part is then what are other ways that we can engage with pleasure and intimacy without sex? Again, sis might be tired, but we can sit up
Right.
here and cuddle all day long. I am good for that. We can be sitting
Yeah.
here and it's just our feet touching.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. If you just come and give me like this big hug behind me or whatever, or bring me my favorite X, Y, and Z, that might get the juices flowing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
think understanding, the way that stress impacts us sexually.
Do you think that's a conversation that a couple needs to have? How often does a couple need to have that conversation? Does it change throughout the business? Does it change throughout the lifespan? And how can a couple ensure that they're consistently having that conversation at whatever interval y'all suggest? What do y'all think?
I am saying I don't think there needs to be a certain amount of time. I think if a couple is struggling, this is the prime opportunity to pause and say,
Mm,
all right, what are the challenges that are going on right now? And I
mm-hmm.
think it can be helpful if both parties write those down and see, all right, are we
Yeah.
looking at our list? Are we
Right.
identifying the same challenges so we are on the same
Mm-hmm.
page in regards to that? Or you see some as a problem that I don't, right? And so that may be why we're having a problem because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that this is an issue for you. And so what are the issues? Typically, sex is going to be a part of that. And then the question
Okay.
is, is it why? Why is it that you're not wanting to engage as much
Mm-hmm.
as I want or we once did? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person could be like, why do you need it every day, all day? What is going on with you? You acting like a 14-year-old little boy. So, whether these questions are prompted by the cars that Nikquan mentioned, or again, your business owners, anytime your systems and things are not working and flowing, you should also be taking a look in the business. What's working, what's not, what's the
Mm-hmm.
issue, and what's the resolve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're going to use those same leadership skills and business skills, great, let's do that when we're trying to problem solve in the relationship.
Okay,
So I want to
good.
add, I
Please go ahead.
absolutely agree. I do have intervals, though. I do have times where with my couples,
Mm-hmm.
especially my premarital couples, I'm helping them to build these systems, and that includes sitting down at least annually. At least
Mm-hmm.
annually. I advocate for every 6 months, but at least annually, because what I know from working with not the premarital couples so much, but my older couples, for those who have gotten into patterns in seasons of silence, they ain't
Mm-hmm.
talking
Mm-hmm.
about the problems. The problems are there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not
Mm-hmm.
even talking about them, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they only really come up during these annual check-ins. I tell them, if you are not reviving and revising your vows, you may be operating off of principles that don't even represent who you are today. And now you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with Kamilah, right? Talk about it when you know it's a problem. You should definitely be doing that. But a bare minimum annually, or biannually, just sitting down and talking the language I use is what's going well and what could be better.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What do y'all think is keeping couples from doing this? And what can we share with them today to have them start doing it? Yeah.
I think these conversations bring up emotions that
Yeah.
are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's easier to stay here. It's easier to focus our attention on something else. And again, I think there's a basic level of, all right, especially if we're married, probably ain't going nowhere. We're locked in. This may just be a season,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to hear what they're not doing well, especially if you feel like you are doing your best,
Mm-hmm.
but particularly when you are very high achieving in certain other areas. That
Mm-hmm.
is something that we see. It can be a lot of times when you're very successful professionally, you may struggle in your intimate, not just intimate relationships, just your relationships, period, whether that's with family members, friends, or romantic partners. So I think it just requires something different of us that is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of avoidance in that.
How do you coach
There's
your
also a
clients
big,
into that?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. How do you coach your clients into that? Being able to now stand up and say, I want to critique because I want to get better. I want us to have a better relationship. I want us to have the hard conversations. How do you coach them into that mindset shift?
High achievement can also be coupled with perfectionism that then also
Mm.
says that any perceived level of flaw, of mistake is a personal attack on me, that it
Mhm.
means that
Mhm.
I'm not good enough, that something is wrong with me,
Mhm.
versus saying, no, 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 I'm all of these great things. And these things are just pieces of me. And the reality is that nobody is perfect, right? And so
Yeah.
I think it's just, we tend to get the most upset when it's things that we have not admitted within ourselves.
Oh.
So if you're aware of your shortcomings, so let's say if someone is aware, it's like, hey, I know that I'm a
Mhm.
passive communicator. And so
Mhm.
with conflict comes, I'm just going to shut down. When their partner gives them that feedback, hey, babe, you're shutting down again, they're less likely to be like, no, I'm not, versus, okay,
Right.
you're right, babe. And I'm aware. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Right.
Mhm.
But when you haven't admitted certain things, that's when you get triggered, and that's when you tend to respond more defensively and are less willing to work on the issue. Again, if you're a person who believes that you are, nobody typically believes that they're perfect, but
Mhm.
if you just feel like you're pretty well rounded and it's
Yeah.
hard for you to receive feedback and mistakes,
Yeah.
that this is, you are still great, and this
Yeah.
is an area of growth that we all have. It doesn't
Yeah.
take anything away from your brilliance, from your ambitions, because you have these
Yeah.
things that you need to work on.
Okay, Nikquan, you wanted to piggyback off of what she was gonna say, so I'm gonna let you have it first, but I want to say something too in a minute.
Okay. So piggybacking off of what Kamilah just said, and then I'll work my way back.
Uh-huh.
What I coach my clients into doing is being mindful of their language.
Mm.
Right? It's the I, me, or my statements. Because if you tell me, like if my husband tells me I'm disrespecting him, no, I ain't. Because that's not my goal. That's not my intention. Versus
Mhm.
if he says, I feel disrespected, I can't do nothing with that. I can't take that from you, right?
Right.
And so when I'm working with people that deal with perfectionism, I help them to just be mindful of their language, using their I, me, or my statements, right?
Right.
That's powerful. And then what I was going to say before is a belief that's preventing people from making these changes is it's a narrative. So as a I'm a narrative therapist. That's kind of one of my foundations. I help people to externalize themselves from the problem, right?
Mhm.
But a big belief is, why even communicate? Ain't nothing gonna change no way,
Yeah.
right? Why I'm wasting my breath, pretty
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
right? So understanding that your communication is where your power lies, not in what
Mhm.
somebody does with it,
Mhm.
is can be a very freeing from, well, I'm just going to sit here and deal with it because Kamilah ain't listening to me no way, and she gonna
Mhm.
keep being on BS or whatever the case the
Mhm.
narrative is, right?
Mhm.
So I just wanted to add that, one, be mindful of your language.
Yeah.
For perfectionism, make sure that we are telling them that they are more than their decisions, they're more than their behaviors, they're more than their problems.
Yes.
Empowers them to make these changes.
Yes. What came up for me when she was talking a second ago was that understanding you've probably never been this place in life before. And so, I mean, there are definitely people who've been married 20 years and then got a relationship and got into another 20-year marriage. But most people, this is the first time you ever been in a long-term committed relationship, 8 years, and been married to the person and running a business. And so allow for that. This is the first time you've been 11 years in with the family, married, and running a business. Like, allow for the need to learn, to change, and to grow at this level. And so Arthur Blank, is it Arthur Blank? Yeah. He has a book, and I'm so sorry I don't know the name of it, but he talks about leadership at the different levels, right? When you were running a corner hardware store, that is completely different skill set than you need to run a local Home Depot store versus Home Depot corporate and all of its stores, and how you have to upskill yourself. And so what do you guys think the up level skills that are needed for an entrepreneurial couple to have? Like if you had to name 3 skills that okay worked for you 5 years ago, but you got to completely up level that skill, what would you say? Who wants to go first on that? What do you
I'd
think?
say patience, grace, and effort.
Patience, grace, and effort.
Hmm.
Okay, I get the patience. I get the grace. Talk to me about the effort.
It's the effort in wanting to understand. A
Oh,
lot of folks is committed to misunderstanding, right? And you have to be able to adjust and pivot in these different seasons and these different levels, right? And so giving the effort, I want to know
yeah,
that you want to understand, you want to go with me on this journey. I want to know we in it
yes.
together.
Okay, you got to talk more on who in the world would be committed to misunderstanding and why. You got
They
to talk.
listening with these old ears. That's what I tell them.
Mm.
Baby, you got to get rid of them old ears. When they come work with me, I have them take them off and throw them. Okay. Listening with old ears, expecting a lack of change, expecting what you've gotten. There leaves no room for growth listening
Mm-hmm.
here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not intentionally I'm listening,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to misunderstand you, but I'm expecting the BS that has happened. I'm expecting the hurt that has happened. I leave
Right.
no space for change and growth.
Oh, wow. All right, Camille, what do you think? 3 things, three
Um,
skills.
Practically, I think is what we've been saying, like the communication, and the boundaries. But I would, say flexibility, compassion, and intention.
Okay, flexibility,
Nothing stays the same.
compassion, and intention. Flexibility, compassion, and intention. All right, talk to me about the intention. I think that's the one that's the most. I get compassion and I get flexibility. The intention and how do I have to up level that skill? And you know what? I don't think I thought about intention as a skill. So, girl, teach.
I mean, I think be as intentional in the relationship as you are in your business.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
I don't know about you all, but in my business, if it's not on the calendar, Camila's gonna forget.
Say that.
And so, if you're intentional about this relationship, how do I put us?
Mm,
First of all, we need to be on our own daggone calendar, okay?
mm-hmm.
Because we can burn out, and with all of our intentions, don't have anything to give to our partner. But then
Yes.
also, how do you prioritize the relationship? Um, One of my favorite friend couples, they've been married 17 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife is my friend, and she was saying that, I don't know, she was going through her husband's phone. Not like that. They have shared calendars and all of that stuff. But she said she noticed that it was like the first Friday of the month or something, he had date night. And she was like, girl, I was about to get mad and be like, he got a scheduled date night. Like, as long as we've been married, he can't remember. And then she said she had a mama was like, wait a minute. This man is VP of such and such department. He travels half the time. He
Yeah.
provides a lifestyle where you can work if you want to. So, with all the things that he is responsible for in his high demand
Mm-hmm.
job, he is still prioritizing you all's time together by blocking that time off on his calendar. So, are you mad about the time block,
Yeah.
or do you want to go on the date, sis? Like, what's going on? So, be as intentional about scheduling that time,
Mm-hmm.
and not in a way that it feels like a task. Like, all right, so from 6 to 9, me and my partner are going to do that. But lean into it that this gets to be
Yeah.
uninterrupted time.
Mm-hmm.
That we both get to turn our brains off. That we both
Mm-hmm.
just get to, mesh back into each other. Even if we don't do
Mm-hmm.
nothing, but we sitting there taking a nap together. So
I think that's so
that's what
good.
I mean by the intention.
Yeah. And as you say that, it does make me think the higher you go in success, the higher you get in leadership. You do have to be very intentional, or you wind up wasting your time on low value priorities because that's what's easy, that low hanging fruit. But you get to a level where you are actually losing money when you go after the low hanging fruit. You know, I don't need the VP checking emails. I need them checking systems. I need them checking contracts. I need them making money. And so, but prioritizing that's because it's so easy to get off track. I know we've all had days where we didn't make a things to do list. We didn't pay attention to the time and we got nothing done. Nothing done.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing done. And so, yeah, I love that skill of thinking about intentionality as a skill and as a skill that I have to up level. And so, wow. Okay. All right. What's not said? What do entrepreneurial couples need to know about making it from the bedroom, from the kitchen table, their boardroom to the bedroom? Like, what do y'all think needs to be addressed? Is it something y'all seen in y'all practice? Something you heard on TV? Something you listened to on a podcast? Saw on TV? Listened to on a podcast? What do y'all think is not being said about couples making that transition?
I would say it goes back to effort for me.
Mm,
Understand the effort that it will require, and that's going to change throughout the relationship, throughout the
mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah.
Understanding that entrepreneurship by yourself as a single person
Yeah.
is a whole job. So now if you have two people in that space,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to require a lot of effort. And are you about that life?
Mm.
Can you be about that life?
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Mm-hmm.
flexible? Are you going to give the grace that's needed when, somebody been doing a bunch of things
Yeah.
all day and they don't have it, and now you're feeling rejected because somebody said no,
Yeah.
right? Like, can you manage that? That shouldn't be the standard, right? But
Mm-hmm.
understanding that there's going to be ebbs and flows in your relationship, just as there will be
Mm-hmm.
in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to commit to the effort that's required for success at that level, marriage and business?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Camilla, what do you add?
I would remind them to not confuse productivity with love.
Oh,
People
oh,
can get
girl.
focused on, oh, we built this together and we have this and da da da. That's cool. But having a thriving business and a shrinking relationship is not success. Not for me. So be mindful about confusing productivity with love.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would ask them the question of, what would success in your relationship look like if nobody else could see it but you?
Mm. Oh, that's good.
Because sometimes, particularly with some like power couples, some of what they think are their desires is like this image and the facade to keep up with what they may have been, presenting to other people. And it's not that it's a lie, but is this really what you all want? Is this really what is best for you all's relationship and dynamics? And really, is at the foundation, or is this about something else? Because let's be honest, sometimes it can be ego. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
we can really lose focus of what's happening. So, are we doing things that work best for us, or is this performative in nature and trying to meet other people's expectation of us?
Right? Oh, all
Mhm.
of that was so good. Effort, grace, all the things that y'all have said has been so good. And so I hope my couples are getting this, because I think at the core, I don't think y'all said communication, but it sounds like it boils down to communication. And not only communication, I'm gonna say recommunication, and then communicating again, and then talking again about the communication, and just keep going it. And so and I think who said flexibility? That was cool. That was really cool. And so adding that to it as well. Okay, ladies, I want to thank you guys for spending this time with me today and giving my couples these gems and pieces of wisdom. And so if they want to reach out to you guys, give me all your information, please. All right, Nikquan, go first with the book, the everything, the website, the social media, the Essence Festival. Go tell it all.
All right. So anybody who needs to do any work, inner work, which is all of us, because healing is a
Hmm.
journey and it's not a destination.
Say that.
Go ahead and grab your signed copy of When Trauma Is Your Author at whentraumaisyourauthor.com. You can also follow me on all platforms at Intimate Connections with an S, PLLC. And you can also grab your relationship and sex conversation card deck at intimateconnections.com as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, Camilla, give us all your things. How do we get in contact with you? And y'all are both in the state of Texas?
Yeah.
In the Houston
Yes.
area.
Yes. So they're taking clients in the state of Texas. Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. Yeah, so for anyone who would like to work with me, again, my specialty is tend to work with those high achieving, strong Black, successful women. You can go directly to my website, www.KamilahThomas, that's my first and last name, KamilahThomas. That is also where you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. I am accepting new clients for one-on-one. And if you still want to work with me in some capacity, or you're interested just about how to be able to lean more into your softness, to shift from surviving to thriving, to start dismantling and taking off that cape, you can also get my Sis Is You Good reflective workbook and affirmation card deck. And so it goes through understanding your superwoman story. We talk about boundaries, we talk about the challenges of vulnerability, we talk about communication, and we talk about your soul care plan. So, what is it? How can you really prioritize yourself realistically, and start microdosing things in your busy schedule? And then the affirmation card deck, you get 20 of those just to help you, unlearn and reset your mind. So that's where y'all can find me.
I'm having both of you guys back for different conversations. This was so
Whoop,
exciting and
whoop.
so good. And so thank you guys so much for giving me your time out of your busy schedule. I so appreciate it. All right, ladies, thank you.